All right, perfect. I think I'm going to start now. So thanks again, everyone, for joining us today for this webinar all about bookseller tools. So a lot of you are familiar with Edelweiss as a platform for buying, or maybe you use our mailing system 360. But there's actually a wealth of tools designed for booksellers available to you as well. And as a bookseller myself, albeit part-time, these are the things I find myself using a lot, and they're incredibly helpful. So we have a demo video for you today, which I'll get started with sharing. But if you have questions at any point, my colleague Dan is in the chat monitoring, so you can go ahead and drop questions in the chat there. And we will try and make time for a bit of a Q&A at the end. All right. And I will go ahead and play the video now.
Here we have the Edelweiss homepage, which is populated by these customizable widgets. So widgets create easy access to particular places in Edelweiss or particular tools. So you'll see that we'll add a few for some of the tools we're going to be looking at later. And you can add new widgets up here. So for later in the demo, I'm going to add the saved filters one now. So I'm going to go ahead and select saved filters and then tick that one. And you'll see that that's added up there, but of course I don't have any active filters at the moment. I'm also going to go ahead and remove the events widget, as it's one that I don't feel is that relevant to me at the moment. And that frees up a bit of space. So let's jump straight in with saved filters. So obviously I have my widget here, but there is actually a dedicated saved filters page, which can be found from the filter icon at the top right here. So if I hover over that, that will say saved filters. So let's click into that. And here we have the page. Obviously it's looking pretty sparse at the moment, but we can change that by going up here and pressing add new filter. So filters are built from a number of attributes that are found in this drop-down menu here. Some of the notable attributes include publication date, which allows you to set a dynamic filter, which we'll cover later. Famous subject category, which has all those basic level subject categories and genres. Time period qualifier, which has pretty much every time imaginable. Place qualifier, which is what it sounds like. You can choose from anywhere in the world or geographical groupings. And we have format as well, which allows you to select what format you want the book to be, but also more importantly, what format you don't want the book to be. So we could use this to say minus, so we don't want any ebooks in the filter we're building. So let's go back to place qualifier to start with an easy filter. So I'm going to go ahead and press place qualifier, and I want this filter to be based on where my shop is located. So I'm going to say Norfolk. This is useful because a lot of people have interest in local interest. So you may be a tourist location, which is all the more reason to set up one of these filters, but often you'll find a lot of people are after a title to read that is set where you are. So I'm in place qualifiers, and I'm going to drop down to Europe, and then Western Europe, United Kingdom down here, England, East Anglia, and there's Norfolk. So I'm just going to go ahead and press the plus. You can sometimes drill further. Looks like there's not anything below Norfolk, but there is an East Anglia's places of interest section. So if I drop that down, I have the Norfolk Broads and the Fens and the Wash. But I'm going to stick with Norfolk for now. So I'm going to go ahead and press save. And that's pulled 59 titles here. But if I scroll down, you can see that actually a few of these are maps or pocket guides. To combat this, I'm just going to go back into edit filter here. And I'm going to go to theme subject category, so I can go ahead and add fiction. And now the results have filtered down to 34. I don't need to save again, I can just X out of this, and the results will reload, and we'll have a nice list of books to recommend to people looking for a Norfolk read. So let's take a look at creating a different kind of filter. Filters are also great for pulling curriculum lists for schools. So I'm going to go to Theme as Subject category and find the base for my filter, which is going to be an environment filter for children. So we have Earth Sciences, Geography, Environment and Planning here, but I want to drill a little bit deeper and go to specifically the environment. Now I'm going to go to Theme Interest qualifier and select my ages of interest. You could be specific for a key stage here. I'm just going to go for, let's say, 7, 8 and 9. And of course I've got to name this filter, so there we go, Children's Environment. And I'm just going to press Save. So it looks like that's pulled 63 titles, and let's take a look at what we've got. So a lot of these have some really nice spreads that you can take a look at, click through. And this one at the top even has a DRC, so I could read this entire book in my browser right now or download to an external device. Right, so we're going to take a look at creating one more kind of filter, and that's the dynamic type, which I mentioned earlier. I could build from any of my previous filters, and I'd just go to Edit Filter and add or remove anything I wanted to, but I'm going to start afresh for this. So back to Add New Filter, and I'm going to start with a base of a subject category of fiction, but specifically, let's say, horror and supernatural fiction. So for this next part, you need to go to publication date. And here I can set a time period for my books. So I could have front list, back list, or all, or set a specific date here. But I'm going to go with starting from today, looking out a month. Of course, I could change this. I could go 12 months ago and so on. And I could also extend the looking out date, but we'll stick with this for now. And I just need to call this, and this is something that will update each month. So it looks like there's new horror books coming out this month, 16 of them. And we can take a little look at these. And with that widget on our home page, this is something that's easy to refer to and check up on. If you know you have a big horror audience in your shop, this is perfect. But the uses of saved filters doesn't end here. You can actually apply them in several very useful places in Edelweiss. So I could use my Norfolk filter in a catalogue in hopes to find a new front list Norfolk title. I could use the Children's Environments filter on the review copies page to pull a digital review copy about the environment for children. But one of the best ways to use them is actually on the analytics page. So here we have at the top here, apply saved filter, and within that I can select one of the filters I've made. So they'll all be here, but there's also recently used or add new filter here. I'm going to apply my Norfolk filter, and this means it's going to pull titles about or set in Norfolk that have done really well in the indie trade. Of course, I can change the parameters for this to see more titles, so I could set the title range to be bigger and set the month period. So I could go to 12 months back and I could see more titles if I wanted to. But if I'm happy with this, I might want to take a look at the green part of the pie chart, which shows me out of these titles, the one I have in. And say someone's come in for a Norfolk book recommendation, this is what I'm going to recommend since it's done so well in the UK trade. So now we're going to take a look at another tool, and that's collections. Before I go, I'm just going to clear this filter by pressing clear up there, and I'm going to go back to my home page. Let's begin by adding a widget for our collections, and that can be found under Catalogues and Your Collections. Now we can go to the Catalogues tab, and down the left-hand side you'll see that under Customized there's My Collections. This is the page where you'll find any collections you own, as well as where you create new ones. So I'd go up here to create a new one, and let's just call this a test. And then I can press Create or Create and add titles. I can add titles into this box here, and I could either paste them in, or if I have a scanner attached to my computer and I'm on the shop floor with a collection of books, I could scan them in one by one, and then I'd go ahead and press add. I don't have anything to add to this one yet, so let's create one for one of the saved filters we made. So I'm going to create a collection for children's and then I'm just going to press create this time. So now what I'm going to do is go back to my saved filters page and the children's environment saved filter. So selecting these, I could go to the other actions menu again and press select all on current page, but for this one I'm just going to pick out the ones I'd like to add to my collection. So I'll go for this one, that one, and finally this one. Now with the ones I've selected, I'm going to go to the other actions menu and select add to collection. At this point I could create a new one, but since I already have one made, all I'm going to do is press the little plus there and I can click into that to go straight to that collection, which is now populated. Now I have my own personal collection of environment books. If I go actually to the catalogues and my collections page, you can see some other features you can use with a collection. So I could share this as it has a unique link, and I could share this with anyone. You don't need an Edelweiss account to view a shared collection. Or I could share it with my colleagues, meaning it would show up on their shared with you tab or shared by colleagues. So here I have some collections that have been shared by a colleague who's also on my bookshop account. Now I'm going to go back into children's environment and show you how you can make that school's outreach process a lot smoother and cleaner. So I'm going to go to other actions and select all of these titles and then go to create PDF. I'm going to select how many books I want visible per page, so let's say 2. And then I need to pick which elements I want visible. Now that I've selected the elements I'd like, I'm just going to go ahead and press create. And this is a really quick process that creates a PDF that I can just send out in an email to the school. So that's loaded in my downloads up there, so I'm going to take a look at that. And here we have it. Along with that, I can also create an order form. So I'm going to go to other actions again, and all of them are selected, but this time I'm going to press export to file. So on my account, there's a lot of file templates, but generally you're going to go with generic order form, which all of you will have. You can create a custom export here, but let's stick with this one for now. And here we have this order form that can be shared along with that PDF straight to the school. Now let's take a look at using tags in Edelweiss. So to the left of any title, you'll see the tags icon here, and it may vary depending on which view you're in, but since I'm in the new list view, tags is here. I can press that and add any tag to this book I would like to. This can be a buzzword, something I want to remember about it. It can be pretty much anything you want, and all you need to do is type in the word. So let's say book club and just press enter. And there it's created the tag. Now there is actually a dedicated tags page on Edelweiss, and you can find that tab right up here. So you can see that under my tags I only have one, which is book club, but on my organisation and my bookshop we actually have over 60. And down here you can see all of the publisher tags, so anytime one of my reps has tagged something in a catalogue, it shows up here. So what sort of tags have me and my colleagues been creating? If I view more of them, you can see that they're often just keywords or labels that quickly group these titles. So one of my colleagues may have been going through an order in a catalogue and noticed that there's a book about autism. So they can just quickly tag that as a book about autism, and then they can refer back to that. And since they've shared it with me and everyone else in the company, we can refer to it too. So one we've particularly found useful is grief. So there's not a huge amount of titles in this yet, but we are building as we go. So if we ever see a title that is relating to grief, it's good to have this list to refer to so we can offer recommendations when needed. Now, you can manage tags by going to tag options up here. So in this menu here, I can see all the bookshop tags as I have the bookshop selected here. If I go to just mine, I can see that tag we created earlier. And this menu is where you can delete, merge, rename, and share tags. So let's take a look at sharing my book club tag. I'm going to select that one and then select share with my colleagues only. You can share with reps as well if you'd like. I'm going to go ahead and press save, and that one will now be shared and in Bookbugs and Dragon Tales as well. Merging is really helpful if there's some spelling errors. So I might have been working on a tag called winter and my colleague might have been working on a tag called Winer, in which case we'd want to merge those so that we have all our winter tagged books in one place. I can create PDFs and order forms from here as well. It's just in the other actions menu. So I'd select all and create PDF or export to file. I can also add to a collection, and you can see up here that you can mass add or mass remove tags. Since we're on this page, we can take a look at another really useful tool, which is title email. Sometimes you'll be on Edelweiss, whether you're buying in a catalogue or just doing some title discovery, and you see a title that you know one of your customers would love and you just immediately want to get it in front of them. You might tag this for later to say, show to this customer, but you could also go to the share icon on any book and press send email. So I'm going to select basic as the template and I'm going to send it to myself for now. And let's say and I just go ahead and press send. We can take a look at what that looks like in my email over here. And here we have it. So you have my message up here and then the basic details for the book. They could click onto it to view the title listing in Edelweiss, and it's just perfect to let them know about this title that you think they'd like. So let's take a look at notes now. So I'm going to go back to the home page and you'll see that I have the widget now for my collections. I'm going to go into the children's environments one again, and we're going to take a look at using notes. So obviously your reps use notes to pass across key information about a title, but you can also use them internally with your company or personally for yourself. And you'll find notes on the left-hand side of any title up here. If I click into them, it's going to bring me this menu. You'll see these options here where I can select if I want to view the title in a different mode, and here is the box where I'm actually writing the note. So as with most tools in Edelweiss, you can really use them however you want, but a note is a good way to add a bit more detail in communication between your colleagues or with a publisher. So just for an example, I'm going to type this in. So this title might be something we want to use in an upcoming workshop with a school. And if this was a note for the publisher, then I'd go ahead and tick this. And if I always wanted my notes to be visible to publisher contacts, I'd select that as well. But I'm happy with this, so I'm going to go ahead and press save. Now you'll notice the note has appeared here, and if any of my colleagues had posted notes, I'd see them in this area as well. You'll also notice that at the top of a catalogue or collection, if anyone has left a note or a tag, you'll see these icons here. And I can click into them and it will tell me exactly what title has a note or a tag, and I could press that to go straight to the title. So that's one of the ways that you could use notes internally. And of course, anytime you post a note, whether that's in a catalogue or a collection, it will be visible to your colleagues. And of course, you can also use notes to communicate with your reps, hence the Share with Publisher Contacts option. This is helpful for if you're buying within a catalogue without your rep there, and you can ask for signed copies, special editions, POS, or really anything that you want to get across to your rep. And then once you share that order, they'll be able to review and see any notes you've left. So overall, it's a pretty useful tool to have access to. So finally, we're going to take a look at shelves in Edelweiss. So if I was to click onto the title presentation mode, you'd see that we can find shelves along the bottom row of options here, and it's the little book icon. So these are all the options for a shelf. The ones I find myself using are anticipating and highly anticipating. But in this view of a catalogue, you'll find them under the Add To option. So while I can also add to a collection or collaborative list on Community or remove from collections, I also have all the shelving options here. So I'm going to add this to Anticipating. And now if I was to go to the shelves page on Edelweiss, you'd see that that is there along with anything else I've shelved. I'm often using shelves when actually looking through the digital review copies page, so I might be scouring the page looking for a title, something specific maybe, but another one catches my eye, in which case I'd add that to one of the shelves to refer back to later. Another one of the shelves I find really useful is Currently Reading. It's just nice to have a record of what you've read, but also I refer back to it to add reviews, which will then be used in our newsletter and mailings in Edelweiss 360. But of course, this is a demo account, so it doesn't have a huge amount of activity. But there is actually another place on Edelweiss that refers to shelves and what you're shelving and what your colleagues are shelving. So if you go to the Buzz page, which might be something you've seen but you're not really sure what it does, we can take a look at how that's used. So since on the left hand side you can see I'm looking at my account activity, this is showing me titles that have significant activity, whether that's a review, a shelf, or a much love from people within my company. I'm actually going to switch the view for better visibility, and I can see all these titles have a lot of buzz within my shop among our colleagues. This is something that's really good to refer to, whether that's for recommendations or to add again to a 360 mailing. It's generally just a useful place to find inspiration. If I scroll back to the top, you'll see that I can actually look at buzz from community activity. So if you use Edelweiss community and say you're part of the horror fiction community, you'll see which titles are garnering a lot of buzz and attention there. And there's also honours, which will show you titles that have associated awards. So to come full circle, let's go back to the home page and we'll take a look at adding a shelf widget. So on my main account, I have a widget for what I'm currently reading, but you can obviously pick whichever one you'd like. So you can see shelves here, and I'm going to go ahead and add Anticipating. And when I click back here, you'll see that that one has added up here. As always, I'm going to take this moment to remind you that you have the question mark icon up here, which will take you to our knowledge base. And here you'll be able to find extensive help documentation on any one of the tools we looked at today. Of course, up here you can see where it says contact us, there's the support email, and you can also email us there if you have any questions or need any help.
All right, well, thanks for watching that, everyone. I can see we have a couple of questions in the Q&A section. So while I answer those, I'm also going to share my screen so I can give you an idea of what a lived-in Edelweiss account looks like. So bear with me one moment. Here's my actual account, not my demo account. And one of the questions was about thema and saved filters, so whether every book has a thema attached to it. Now, that's a good question because they do, but a lot of them at the moment have the basic level ones, so it's category, for example, but not all publishers are necessarily using things like interest qualifier. So those results for saved filters, which if we look at my bookseller page, you'll see that I have tons because this is a tool I use quite a lot. Those results do rely on sort of the vigilance of the publishers, but you still get a lot of great results, as you can see. Another question was about collections. So let me go to my catalogs page and my collections, asking whether they update themselves. So this isn't possible, but the filters will update themselves. So for example, if I had my children's environments collection, that wouldn't just automatically update itself with children's environments books, but a filter would. So you would need to top that up if that's something you were interested in doing. And you can have a look here. These are sort of the things, the collections that I make within our shop. So these are all based on analytics. So I'll go ahead to the analytics page, put a filter on that I've made that refers to the different key stages, and then I'll drag 50 of those titles out and put them into a collection. And we have all of the different key stages here. And we can send them out to schools, but we can also use them in 360 mailings if we have a lot of school contacts. So we can say monthly, here's the most popular books at the moment. So I'll stop sharing my screen now. If you ever have a filter that you're really eager to create, but you're not quite sure how to do it, you can always email me and I'd be really happy to help. It's such a powerful tool and I just think the results can be brilliant, but I know it can be finicky dropping down, like it really questions my geography knowledge when I'm doing a theme of place qualifier. So yeah, feel free to reach out with anything Edelweiss related. I'm going to drop my email in the chat here. Hopefully everyone can see that. And yeah, thanks again for joining. Bye.